Thank you so much for staying tuned to this channel. If you just joined us, this is TMI. In the next 45 minutes or thereabout, I'll be talking about issues bordering on what transpired in Kano, where the appeal court upheld the sack, so to speak, of Governor Yusuf of Kano State. And this, whether I believe it or not, is a big blow to the Kwankwasia movement. Yes, but they'll vow to go to the Supreme Court to get their mandate. He has spoken to Kano citizens to stay calm. Don't forget the Kwankwasia movement is a very strong movement, especially in Kano State, and that seems to be the bedrock of the NNPP. With me here in the studio to talk about this, I have a legal practitioner, political affairs commentator. Join me to welcome Barrister Greg Adaze. Welcome to TMI Sunday's edition. I appreciate your comment.
Wow, Wilson, thank you very much for your...
It's like you're slouching. Could you please just...
for your invitation, and good morning, my viewers.
All right. Thank you so much, Barrister, for coming. Sitting close to me is another legal practitioner. Yes, a labor devotee. And of course, an active political analyst. Join me to welcome Barrister Robinson Imade. Welcome to TMI.
Thank you very much.
It's been a while. Just used to go up the grid. I've been calling and calling. I'll be coming. I will come. I will come.
I went on recess. Oh. There was a need to maybe on hibernation.
And of course, we still have a new man, Obayuwana, here with us in the studio, and I want to throw more light on this. I was expecting Joe Ebaibe to join us via Zoom from Lagos due to connectivity issue. He just couldn't join us, but all the same, as I say, in broadcasting, the show definitely will go on. Before we go into what transpired in the appeal court about Kano State Governor, what do you have to say about the suggestion made by Tiku about formation of coalition?
Yes.
Yeah, could you please sit upright, Barrister?
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Is it okay by
It's
you?
better this way.
Yes. The move and the call by Atiku for coalition is not a bad one, but it's coming at the wrong time. I was expecting before the general election, for the presidential election, they would have come together in order to dislodge or unseat the ruling party, looking at the yearnings of the people for a change. So that would have been the right time for the move, because the citizens were ready for a change. It is better to hit the iron when it's hot. Before that election, the call for a coalition is an evidence that the ruling party is a strong political party with a widespread political tentacles and structure in all parts of the country. So now that the whole political tussle is over, he's coming with this beautiful ideology. It's a beautiful political arrangement that the opposition parties would have employed at the last election. But it's coming too late.
Too late?
Yes, I was expecting, by my own calculations, I expected them to exploit that option of alliance. The Labour Party, even looking at the scores and the votes of the Labour Party and PDP, as well as NNPP, all put together, they would have been there in the Aso Villa by now. So the call for a coalition is a conviction, it's an admission by Atiku that the ruling party is a powerful political party.
All right. I'll come back to you, Barrister. Barrister Robinson, do you share his views? Said it's coming too late. This to test to the fact that the ruling APC is a very powerful political party with tentacles all around the country.
I don't agree that anything can be too late. We don't have a terminal democracy. We don't have a democracy that will end after the next, after this current tenure. It's going to remain unless boys in khaki are forced to come back by the misbehavior of the politicians. But my worry about the call for the merger is the individual calling for such, making the proposal, Atiku Abubakar. If you ask me, Atiku Abubakar caused the failure of PDP in the last election.
How?
I'll tell you. It is obvious that PDP, before this time, remained a very strong party. And Atiku Abubakar insisted by strong politicking and the use of superior financial muscles to get the ticket. And of course, under his watch, his boy, the man who kept telling him, even though they were the same pedestal as candidates, calling him his Oga, left the PDP because he was dissatisfied with the maneuvering of Atiku and others. I'm talking about Peter Obi here. He joined the Labour Party. Even with Obi's exit, PDP, in my opinion, would have won the election. But Atiku frustrated that prospect of success. You ask again how, I'll tell you. The 5 governors, the G5 governors, insisted that, look, we agreed, Atiku, you promised us that if you become the candidate, you will ensure that the national chairman of the party resigns and the position comes to the south. Atiku never one day mentioned that he didn't make that promise. He kept on. Up to 2 weeks to the election, the G5 governors were still saying, we are waiting for you to make good your promise of bringing the national chairman of the PDP to the south if you are the candidate. He remained adamant. How would anybody think that 5 governors of very big states, Oyo, what is it called, Rivers, and the others, and 5 strong governors in themselves will work against you and you succeed? They hide it. We will remain the PDP, but if the national chairman does not come, we are not going to support the presidential ambition or candidacy of Atiku. And that happened. He lost the states. And the same person who could not keep his promise of making the national chairmanship of the party come to south while he remained the candidate is calling for a merger. Who is going to take him serious? Is it Obi, who remained loyal to him up to the balloting, the casting of ballot, who called him his Oga, and he allowed to go to the Labour Party? If Atiku, in my opinion, had told Obi, look, you are my son, I'll go do 1 term. After my 1 term, I'll support you to become president of this country. I'm sure Obi would not have left the PDP. But he thought that he could, that I had a magic wand, and that he could win the election, 1, without the cooperation of the 5 governors, 2, without the cooperation of the South. Because Wike's clarion call was, if you are the candidate of the party, let the chairmanship come to the South. If PDP had won, the president would have come from the North, and the national chairman of the party would have come from the North. That was the fear of Wike and his 4 other colleagues. And many Southerners shared that sentiment. And so, for the same man who allowed Obi to go, who didn't listen to the 5 governors, who couldn't make good his promise of saying, my brother from the North resigned so that we'll get a Southerner to be national chairman, calling for merger. What merger? By now, you should go on political recess.
All right. Well, every man do have the right to ask for a particular, idea to be bought into by so many other persons. You have the right to call for a merger, knowing fully well that the only way to survive or to succeed is to form the merger. Let's see if all these political parties will listen to him, because some are saying, look, merger on your own. At the beginning, we were like, okay, fine, we'll think about it. But now they are having a rethink, saying, for now, let's put that on hold. But let's take a look at Edo State before jumping into what happened in Kano State. Do you see that merger thing working in Edo State? Knowing fully well that next year we will be going for an election. Good news.
Thank you. You know, of course, if there's a merger between the PDP and the Labour Party, which these parties in Edo they are actually at the moment, especially Labour parties, gaining momentum in the in the hearts of the masses. If there's a merger, of course, greatly it will influence the election that is to hold in Edo 2024. Reasons being that currently Edo is PDP, and an addition of Labour Party. Majority of this Edo Light in terms of the youth and what have you, the whole Labour Party in high esteem because of the personality of Peter Obi. So imagine having that vote from that number being added currently to the current PDP. Of course, it will give the APC a tough one to contend against with in the 2024 elections that are coming.
All right. Now, what do you feel? Is it possible in Edo State? Now, if you know that the election is coming in 2024, because we have so many aspirants coming out right now saying they want to become the governor of the state. Do you see the possibility of a merger?
I wish there could be a merger.
You wish?
Yes, very well. I wish it could be possible.
All right.
It would have affected the election in Edo State.
Okay.
The upcoming election. The reason is this. The meaning of a merger or a coalition, as the case may be, is the coming together of two or more parties, working together, collaborating to achieve a particular goal, maybe probably to capture political power. Imagine Labour Party is bringing its political ascendant, its own political ascendant, to be added to that of PDP. It's advantageous. The saying that two heads are better than one. Two heads are better than one. So I will also want to react to what my learned colleague were saying, that the time, I was not comfortable with time, because when the election, the presidential election was coming up, you see the interest of the people, you see the agitation, you see the movement. So where were these people? It was the best time they would have marketed this whole idea of a merger or a coalition, as the case may be. But because of their selfish interests, because they want to be a president of the Federal Republic by all means, they were so egoistic. If you look at these people, they are one type or the other. They were together. They were in the same Labour Party presidential flag bearer. It was from PDP. The same with Atiku Abubakar and the NLPP. They were all together. But because of inordinate desire, lust for power, they don't want to condescend or succumb to one another.
All right.
So the idea of an alliance or the idea of a coalition or merger, as the case may be, it would have been the best way to remove or to stop the ruling party, so that at the end of the day we also test power from another political party.
All right.
Because the suffering is too much.
Too much. All right, thank
It's
you.
unbearable.
Thank you. Thank you. People are really crying. They're really complaining. And some are saying we should give this administration time. Let's see if time definitely will make them fine-tune the economy. We are still waiting. We are still waiting what to do. All right. You've heard their opinions about the major proposal. Now let's move straight down to Kano State, where an appeal court upheld the sack, so to speak, of Governor Yusuf of Kano State, and that isn't going down too well for the Kwankwasia movement. Yes, the root members, so to speak, of the NPP. Barry Robinson, did you expect that ruling by the Court of Appeal?
Well, I was not actually privy to all the goings on in Kano before the Court of Appeal decision. Otherwise, I would have expected it. I thought that Kwakwanso, being so strong a politician in Kano State and in some other parts of the northern Nigeria, that Kano was going to be a walkover for him, and it was. Except that if you look at the judgment of the appeal court, it's easy that even this call for, we're going to the Supreme Court, will not make any difference. It is said that his candidate, what's his name again? A man that I will miss so much, at least for his dance steps, that he was not a member of the party, full member of the party before he was made candidate. It is clear now that he joined the party less than 30 days before he was made a candidate. And so that's a strong constitutional breach. Aside from that, if you look at the votes, about 165,000 votes were nullified, were not valid. I think that is true, but if that is true, it will mean that, having removed the valid votes, that the Kwakwaseya, the NPP, didn't win the election. There's nothing you're going to do about it. If votes were not stamped, they were not signed, and they were found in the box, and if you remove those ones, the APC now had the higher number of votes. There's nothing the Supreme Court will do about that. And the fact, again, is why do we, take Kwakwanso for example, believe so much that we can godfather a whole state? Kano is about the second largest state, population-wise, in Nigeria. Although in some quarters they say it's the largest. I don't believe that. How would Kwakwanso believe that it is either he or nobody there? I think that I agree on all fours with the appeal court judgment. One, if it is true, and I believe it to be so, that over 165,000 votes were voided, were invalid, and unless it is proven otherwise, that the candidate of the NPP became a member of that party more than 30 days before the election.
All right.
If these two positions are correct, there's no going to the Supreme Court will just be a mere waste of time.
Over now to you, Newman. What do you feel about all this?
All right. Well, I've actually been following up with, I've been up to speed with what has been happening, you know, in the Kano election down to the appeal court, you know, judgment. First off, on the legal stand, based on my finding and research, I feel the appeal court is on track.
It's on track?
Yes, I'll point some valid points here based on my research. You know, on the norms, according to the electoral constitution, section 77 of the Electoral Act, you know, it stated that a party must submit the registered card of their candidate to INEC before the elections. And NMPP failed to do that. You know, they didn't submit that, and that was a bottleneck that, you know, was discovered until on the, I think, 6th of July. That's when they submitted that register. You know, that alone, according to the law, the Constitution, has already, there's a breach in the law in that regard. However, I have some reservations, and which I will highlight. You know, also, if we should hold on to that one, that's to say, we are bringing out the constitution and the law and saying we are discrediting the candidacy of this particular party's candidate because it didn't meet certain terms of the constitution of the Electoral Act. But my question is this: there's currently in this state, we are being bedeviled by some political thugs in power that have, sabotaged or twisted the arm of the law to favor them because they are in power. Some of our past governments, I will make mention Buhari, even current President Asiwaju, these same people still have some questionable doubt to the authenticity of their candidacy because of, certification and, certificates. In the case of Buhari, we heard that, he was not having permanent certificate. That issue lingered on for almost forever till, till his tenure, and he served and he passed out. APC came with another candidate. Same thing applies to our current president. Currently, there's a tussle going on about his authenticity because of his, his certificate that he didn't go to school. There was forgery and all of that. Now, why these persons that I mentioned? Why did they also pinpoint and say, okay, they are discrediting them because of this and that? But because, in this country, when things are not favorable to the powers that be, they tend to bring out the law and spread it and say, this is the law. But when it's to their own favor, they don't bring out the law. Notwithstanding, the law is the law. I'm not of the opinion, like I said before I started speaking, I said the Apicor, they're on track on their judgment. Yeah. Then secondly, we are talking about the vote count, about 165,000 votes were invalid. Now, my question is this: why was it only the Governor Yusuf votes of 165,000 that was invalid among all the thousands of votes that was, cast? Why was the APC zone intact? For me, those are bottlenecks. They are questionable. They are
anomalies.
You understand?
Right.
So I have my reservation in that because if things is to stand the way it is from the tribunal to the appeal court, the law is the law, and if you go by that, I feel the NNPP, they took the election. I feel they didn't take it serious because why will you not submit a register of your candidate to INEC before the election?
I'll come back to you, Newman. Over to you, Barrister Greg. The judgment has been, mentioned, and the appeal also upheld the judgment, giving a new form of judgment that, look, apart from the vote counted and the rest of them, you did submit your form on time. Don't forget the one given by one commissioner, though Yusuf sacked the commissioner. He said, look, if you do not do the needful, Kano will be ungovernable. He threatened that. And Yusuf immediately swung into action, say, look, I didn't tell you to say that. For that reason, please leave the government. The polity right now in Kano, according to some climbs, is heated up because of this movement. There's so much belief that the mandate is theirs, and if it's not theirs, that means it has been stolen. How do you think of this will pan out in Kano State?
Yes, the election, the saga, so to say, the legal tussle emanating from the gubernatorial elections in Kano State. Although I'm not really well seized with the happenings in Kano State, but however, you see, after elections, every person have a right to approach the electoral a tribunal. The right to approach the tribunal to test, for solutions, for legal solutions. Yes, the Court of Appeal, truly, the judgment they have given is based on the facts that were presented before the Honorable Court. So, I somewhat believe that the judiciary is still the last hope of a common man. And he has also in the Kano, there is also evidence. So they upheld the decision of the tribunal. It shows that there was so much irregularities in the election. So I think in the Supreme Court, if you approach the Supreme Court, the judgment will not be different. That is my position, sir.
Okay, the judgment will not be different. I'm talking about the polity in Kano State. Don't forget that the first judgment, they have to reserve judgment. That's very, very careful before they started pronouncing judgment. It's even postponed for some days because of the polity that is heated up in Kano. And right now, there is another judgment. What do you think about political climate right now in Kano State, Barrister Robinson?
Well, it's obvious, it's known to all that Kano is a very volatile state politically. But that does not mean that the force of the people can sway the law. We are not in a banana republic. I agree that even the Kwakwasiya movement is I don't want to be abusive now. It's a movement that is more than just a political movement. With their red caps on, they can do any and everything for Kwakwaso. That's why I said, I wonder why Kwakwaso will think that for eternity he will begin to maneuver a state like Kano. But even at that, the Kwakwasiya movement cannot be, those who are actually members of that movement cannot be up to a tenth of the population of Kano. But if you talk about activism, they are the most potent group in Kano today as far as politics is concerned. It is true that many of the people of Kano State, and if you like, most states in the north, will just follow the madding crowd. And so if elections judgment is reserved or postponed for security reasons, yes, why not? The judges themselves are human beings. I don't think they have such African native insurance as to be able to ward off bullets to them. I think that the situation in Kano will be determined by the letters of the law. There is no way that the law or the government will succumb to the activities of, with due respect, miscreants. The law is the law. It is true that about 165,000 votes were invalid. A number of reasons can be responsible for this.
But hold on, he raised the point. How come it's only from NNPP? What about other parties?
He had mentioned that evidence before the courts are the ones that are looked into. In Edo State here, Adams Oshomole became governor, defeated a professor of law at the tribunal and at the Court of Appeal. Why? Because he also said most of the votes that Sarima Osumbo got then were invalid. They were sorted. So if the legal representatives of the APC said, look, let's screen these votes, these ballots, and it is screened, and your own legal representative did not say, let's screen my own, that's at the level of competence in law. But even at that, I don't know that all the 165,000 votes were cast for the NNPP candidate. If that was the case, it means that there was a serious attempt at rigging the election. And so there is no way you can profit from your own wrongdoing. If they believe that other parties also had, it is not the duty of the tribunal or the appeal court to say, oh, let us also look at the others. It has to be canvassed by those representing you, either at the tribunal or at the Court of Appeal. If it's not canvassed, too bad. If 165,000 invalid votes were cast for a particular candidate, that candidate should be ashamed of himself. 165,000? Then you are now saying, oh, if you screened my own votes, why did you not screen the votes of my opponent? Did your lawyers ask the tribunal to also screen the votes of your opponent? Assuming it is correct that all the 165 votes were cast for the Kwakwaso person. Okay, that's not an issue before us. It won't be an issue before the appeal court or even the tribunal if it was not pleaded, if it was not asked for. That's on that. It happened in Edo State, where we are. And Oshomole rose to power. Okay? Now, the movement of Kwakwasia cannot stop the adjudication of justice. At the worst, they will expose themselves to danger, members of it, and many of them will die. I tell people, I come from the labor background, that crisis is just like you put a bucket, fill a bucket of water, a drop of water, get a big stone, drop inside. The water will swirl here, there, many will spill out. At the end of the day, it settles. Those ones that have spilled out cannot come back into the drum or bucket. So those who want to test the veracity of our laws, those who want to test the strength of our military, can go ahead to protest and do it violently.
All right.
Otherwise, everything ought to be settled in the courts.
In the courts.
And Kwakwaso has said they are going to the Supreme Court.
All right, now, over now to you, still on the polity, like what you rightly said, activism is in the blood of the Kwankwasia movement. When they start going in drones with their red capitals, like, make way for them in Kano because of the person of Kwankwasia. Don't forget that before the first judgment, there were telltale signs of violence if the judgment didn't favor them. Now we have a judgment, out of one, in the, how will I put it now, not in their favor, so to speak. How do you think this move to react?
Well, I must first of all start by commending the effort of the Commissioner of Police of Kano State. Based on what I could gather, before the judgment, they got a written consensual agreement from both parties, the NNPP and the APC, that after, no matter the outcome of the judgment, they are both party supporters, are supposed to remain calm and, peaceful. And also, parents in Kano State, according to what I could gather, they immediately, the judgment was passed, they went as far as going to schools because of the fear, They went to school, start, bringing their kids back home and kept them indoors, for the whole entire day. So on the part of the, the government, at least some, drastic action will be taken by that agreement that, was signed and agreed by both parties. But the question is, how long can such, agreement stand? Like we have all rightly said here, the Kwankwaso movement and India, they can be very violent. But notwithstanding, like I said before, I felt like, in politics, you don't win it by, it's not just by strength, physical strength, wisdom and tactics. For me, like I still said, I felt like the Kwankwaso and the rest, they didn't regard the judiciary or the law, the rule of law, in regards that how will your candidate be contesting an election and you did not submit the registered card to show that this person is a member of this party. Yeah. You are not submitting July 6th, 7. That's when you are not submitting it. That's on you have downplayed the rule of law on that regard.
All right, now you just want to go for a break. When we return, you continue with your chain of thoughts. If you just joined us, this is TMI Sunday's edition. Don't go away.
TMI, every opinion counts.
Thank you so much for staying tuned. If you just joined us, this is TMI. We're taking a look at the appeal court judgment that upheld the sack of the Governor Yusuf, and people have been reacting to it, but they vowed to get their mandate at the Supreme Court. We're taking a look at the polity right now, the impact it will be having on the polity of Kano State. Well, we went on that break. Good man, Obayuwana. So please summarize your point before I come to Barrister Greg.
Good morning. All right. like I said earlier, I felt the NNPP, they were not ready or they were not serious enough for this election because they downplayed the part of the law. And how can a party as big as NNPP contesting for an election not following the procedures, which is you submit, or is it that there are some, some things about that that is beyond what we're seeing on the surface? Because it's a normal thing to do. You submit the register card of your candidate to INEC, which on that part they failed, and even all through the proceedings in the courts, they were not providing enough evidence. I think it was just one weakness they had, before the courts to back their claim or their claim to the power mandate given to them by the people. But from my own observation, fair and square, I could say that the NNPP, they won the elections. But elections is beyond what you assume. Is the practicals, like is what is tangible, what you see before you. Right. And it's quite unfortunate that a lot of invalid votes were counted on the side of the NNPP, which also I said earlier, I have my reservations on that. Because why will it be just only the NNPP? 165,000 is not 5,000, neither is it 10,000.
Now that is colossal. It's quite huge.
It's quite huge. It's colossal.
Huge.
And that reduced the vote of the candidate of NNPP, Governor Yusuf, and none was done. Nothing was touched on the side of the APC candidate, votes. So it boils down to me, like I always say, currently the electoral system in which our politicians are elected into office in this country, especially the INEC, has failed this country and has failed my expectations.
All right. Well, you say INEC has failed. People may have various opinions about INEC being a success, but to you, in some aspect, they've failed, but some others, they've succeeded. Now, taking a look at the policy, because taking a look at the volatile nature right now of Kano State, they've been warning here and there, despite the fact that Kwankwaso is trying to put it together, despite the fact that Governor Yusuf is trying to, tell his followers to please calm down. Let's go to the Supreme Court to find out what will happen after that judgment is delivered. Taking a look at Kano right now, what do you feel is the pulse of residents in Kano State, knowing fully well that some parents even had to withdraw their word from school? Say, please stay in, doesn't know what is going to happen next.
Yes. The volatile and the fragile nature of the peace in Kano State following the judgment. I'm appealing to the people of Kano State, whatever it is, politics is not a do-or-die affair. Every person is expected to obey the order of the court. So, any person that, for one reason or the other, because of political ambition, is not toying with the security of Kano State, Nigeria will not take that from anybody. Our security agencies are very what? They are aware of this. So we have appealed to them to sheath their sword. Supreme Court, Court of Appeal has already given judgment. So they have to obey the court judgment. So anything that falls short of that, we are going to see cases where some of them will be incarcerated for whatever happened in Kano State. So it's just unfortunate we're in a country whereby people see politics as a do-or-die affair. Ordinarily, when you lose an election, you are expected to accept the result with good faith. But here, the reverse is the case. Like my colleague rightly said, that this political granddaughter of the leader, Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso, he wants to rule, want to be the leader, political granddaughter of Kano State. It's not like that. And look at the election that was conducted. It was a mess. And that is what the Supreme Court have, that is what the Court of Appeal and the Tribunal have already told the whole world, that you are not the winner. So he also has a right to the Supreme Court. But I doubt if they can overturn the judgment of the Court of Appeal and the Tribunal, because it's consistent, except otherwise. So,
except otherwise. I'm not saying it's 2 for APC, that's 0 for NNPP. According to matters, we went to tribunal now to appeal, lost on 2 counts, the Senate going to the Supreme Court. When Ganduje was questioned about the outcome of the judgment, he said these were the traps they set for the NNPP candidates. They knew right from the onset that this man has run foul of the law. They kept quiet. What do you think transpired to have made Kwankwaso to skip that all-important part of submission, barrister?
Overconfidence.
Overconfidence. Could you please elaborate?
Kwankwaso believes that at any time Kano is in his pocket. He didn't take the pains to cross the T's and dot the I's. He went like a charging buffalo into the election and has secured, in my opinion, very rightly, defeat. Kwankwaso is somebody who believes that outside him, nobody is in Kano. And he also believes that he made Ganduje. He believes that Ganduje was a boy when he made him his deputy. And when he handed over, Ganduje was almost bankrupt. He now begged the presidency then to give him a job. And so it beats his imagination that the boy, B.O.Y. in quote, that he brought up will not be standing up against him. And like you said, that same boy said, we knew this person was not qualified. It was a trap we set for Kwankwaso. And Kwankwaso didn't see that trap coming, and he has fallen into it. I don't believe that the Kwankwasia movement has what it takes to overrun Kano. I don't believe that any one person in Nigeria can be greater than a whole state. I believe that the invalid votes were invalid and were properly removed, and that Yusuf didn't, at the end, score the highest vote cast. I also believe that the Kwankwasia movement and their supporters will also make plenty of efforts at wanting to disturb the peace of Kano. I'm 100% sure that they will be curtailed. I'm only sorry for the victims that will come therefrom. Because whether we like it or not, there is no way in any democracy in the world where you say we must become, or we must come to power. Look at Liberia. The young man just succumbed to somebody who actually is old enough to be his father. He said his party may have lost, but Liberia had won. If we don't have such spirit, and that's the spirit of Goodluck Jonathan. Jonathan, with all the flaws that were in the election that he succumbed to surrender to Buhari, he said his blood was not worth, his ambition was not worth the blood of any Nigerian. And Kwankwaso is saying, we must reclaim our mandate. What made it his mandate? The mandate of the people is being shown by the courts. He had representation, legal representation. And assuming they didn't do what they were supposed to do, or they couldn't do what they were supposed to do, that's nobody's business. It's unfortunate.
All right.
So for now, I believe that the appeal court judgment has come, and it will be endorsed by the Supreme Court, from what I have read about it.
Well, thank you so much, Barrister. Well, good news. And now he smiled. Good news. Do you think the judiciary got it right this time in the judgment?
Yes, 100%. I believe the judiciary got it right,
Yeah.
based on substantial evidence that was presented before them. So, in my own opinion, Kwankwaso and his people, they should publicly accept the defeat, because the Supreme Court will only affirm what the Court of Appeal and tribunals judged.
All right. So if you are towing the same line, what about you, Barrister? The last line of this discussion, because our time is up.
It's okay.
You're saying the Supreme Court is going to affirm the judgment of the appeal court. Is that what you are agreeing to right now?
Beyond that, you
Yes.
made a statement that the Supreme Court, when you were addressing...
Yes, if they got it right, if the judiciary got it right this
yes,
time.
I have interest there.
Yes.
There's no time that the courts have not gotten it right in this country. Because it's just... no, the reason,
Even lawyers are angry with some judgments. Don't forget that.
No, the reason is...
Even some lawyers are angry with some judgments.
See, the law is the law. Okay. What the Supreme Court have pronounced, that is the law. That is the law. So to say that they have gotten it right, they have always...
Gotten it right?
Yes. When Supreme Court have pronounced, that is all.
All right.
Nobody can challenge it.
Thank
anyway.
you. Thank you, gentlemen. I know you have so much to say, but our time is up. Take a look at the time. It's fast spent. More than 45 minutes we're talking about this issue. Well, some judgments, according to many Nigerian lawyers, they're not happy with it. Some are saying, yes, the law is the law. But in this case, I think 80% of everybody are saying, yes, they got it right. Why wouldn't a man go out and submit that all-important form if you're really serious about the election? From what Kano just said, he said that maybe their leader was carried away by the presidential election. That was the reason why he forgot that all-important part. And in law, you can be given a sleep if you snooze. When you snooze, you definitely will lose. Well, to me, there should be peace in Kano State. No matter the outcome of the judgment in the Supreme Court, there should be peace. Kwankwaso should talk to his own movement. And of course, Governor Yusuf is still the governor until the pronouncement of the Supreme Court. Put your men in check. There's nothing like peace. You need peace in Kano State, no matter the outcome. You made a mistake, you never can tell. Next time you come out again, you eventually will win. You never just can't tell. Peace should be the watchword. Gentlemen, thank you so much for a wonderful analysis. Hope I invite you next time you're obliged. Appreciate all of you. Thank you so much. We'll do it again next week Sunday, God willing. Bye for now.